Can chaos corrupt a Tyranid ship? How would they use this in battle? What older lore points to Tyranids having creatures on worlds from Catachan to the homeworld of the Space Wolves, the Fang? Friends, let's find out, and welcome to another 40k video, drawing on Storm of Iron by Graham McNeil. So for context, Forex is an Iron Warrior. He's watching the delivery of his warriors to him, and we're drawing the novel Storm of Iron as I mentioned. Forex knew without looking which craft had entered the approach pattern, and while more easily impressed, heads craned skyward to go up at the Leviathan descending towards Jericho Falls, he was merely irritated that it was almost 30 seconds behind schedule. A groaning like the sound of the world cracking open split the air, the grinding screech of massive organic pistons and gears overcoming the bass thrumming of the mechanisms that kept the bloated craft aloft. These ancient and arcane devices, a hideous mix of what had once been organic components and ancient tech, had been created specifically for this craft, and there was nothing in the galaxy like it. Their construction owed as much to the power of hyper-evolution and sorcery as engineering, and the physics of their operation should have been impossible. Folks knew for a fact that their manufacture had only been possible within the Eye of Terror, that region of space where the warp spewed into real space, and all laws of reality ceased to have meaning. That region of space, called home by the legions of chaos. As the ominous shadows stopped moving and the deafening grinding noise continued, Forex glanced up to check that the ship was maintaining the correct altitude. The cargo now being delivered here was vital to the success of his campaign. The massive vessel resembled a vast spire of rock, pitched on its side and left to lie for millennia at the bottom of some depthless ocean. Its ancient surface was a loathsome glossy black, like the carapace of some vile insect, pitted and encrusted with lesions and fluid-leaking orifices. Its underside was studded with shrink-to-like caverns that shimmered in a monstrous heat haze. Once long ago this vessel had plied the icy depths of space in the unutterable vastness between galaxies, and this is where we start to get into the Tyranid speculation part of the ship's creation. Home and locus to billions of creatures, linked together in a gestalt consciousness, enslaved to the imperative to consume biological matter and reproduce. That's got to be the Tyranids. It had drifted from world to world, stripping each bear of life, each creature within it, shared mind acting in perfect concert with the vast overmind that had come to an end when the Warsmith had caused its neural pathways to become infected with the same technovirus that infested the insane obliterators, severing the vital link between the massive parent vessel and its offspring, stripping away the smothering blanket of belonging from the swarm. No one knew how long the Leviathan had fought the infection before the Warsmith sorcerers had defeated its defences and dragged the barely sentient carcass to the Eye of Terror. And that's probably the important part here, that this was mainly done in the Eye of Terror, where everything is so warped and changed. Perhaps the creature ship had thought it was to be granted succour, but in that regard it was to be sorely mistaken, defiled and perverted to serve. Instead of rule, it had been enslaved to the Warsmith's desires, and became yet another cog in his grand design. Like some bloated sea monster from legend, the gargantuan vessel's vast belly hung open, geysers of putrescent gases venting from its interior. Over 2,000 metres in length, it hovered impossibly above Jericho Falls. From the sweating darkness of its ribbed interior, two shapes slowly descended from the vessel, cries of terror and welcome rising in equal measure as the human soldiers pressed into the surface of the Iron Warriors, screamed a welcome to their gods of battle. And this is what this unique craft delivers. The upper reaches, swathed in metres like cables, like tentacles, two vast battle titans of the Legio Mortis descended to Hydra Caudatus. First came their massive legs, each like the tower of a castle, their surfaces studded with gun ports and scarred by millennia of war, followed by wide torsos and armoured chests. And now we're going to move on to the Tyranid 4th edition to talk a little bit about the catachan devil and how it could be linked to the Tyranids. Some organisms found on worlds deep in the heart of the Imperium have maintained an almost legendary reputation, not only for their ferocity but also their lack of traceable ancestry within the ecosystem they operate within. The xeno-organism known as the catachan devil, a gigantic centipedal predator that haunts the death world of Catachan bears many similarities to the earliest form of Ripper encountered by the Imperium and even to the Ravener subtype of Tyranid warrior. This creature can often reach the size of a land train and has such a fearsome reputation that the indigenous warriors of Catachan have taken its name to refer to their most able warriors. Those seem xenobiologists who believe that verdant death worlds are simply planets which have undergone the first stage of Tyranid infestation, again another interesting seed there, before their seeding fleet was driven off, maintain that creatures such as the Catachan Devil are the descendants of vanguard organisms that, divorced from their hive fleet, have evolved into non-standard Tyranids. They're better to survive whilst orphaned from their parent fleet. Other examples include the Brainleaf, a descendant of the Tyranid Cortex Leech, and the Kraken, a mighty undersea predator that patrols the icy depths of the death world of Fenris. Which nicely brings us on to the Kraken, just mentioned seconds ago. This is from the Space Wolves 5th edition Codex. Fenris weather is infamous. The winters are icy cold and the brief summers are intolerably hot. However, every few years or so comes the season known as the Hell Winter. The planet's long orbit takes it from the sun, and it becomes deathly cold for many standard years. At the same time, the planet passes through a swarm of meteors that bombard its surface like a rain of bombs. The contrails of the descending meteorites fill the night skies, and the impacts cause the Earth to shake like a frightened beast. During this period, the tribes of Fenris take to their longships and search the icy seas for places of relative safety. Some navigate their way through the labyrinth of icebergs to make their homes on mountains of ice. Others are lost to freezing tidal waves caused by meteorite impacts. Many more will die when attacked by ice whales and the hideous monsters known as the Kraken. Kraken are the most terrifying monsters of the deep. A full-grown Kraken can measure as much as 5 miles long, with tentacles that drag 4 times as far. Some have speculated that Kraken are the remains of a Tyranid bioweapon from an ancient hive fleet. Others say that the monsters are as old as Fenris and that they gnaw at the roots of the world. I think that might be a token reference. One of the most ancient tales of Russ tells of how he went fishing one day and caught the father of Krakens, the legendary monster whose tentacles encircled the world. Russ pulled the creature from the sea but declared it too small and that he would return later when the tiddler was fully grown. As with many Fenrisian legends, this may be a tale to teach you something, though it would explain the source of the so-called Kraken's egg, a giant leathery piece of flesh over 50 feet in length that lies within the trophy halls of the Fang. And just something from my own knowledge here, the feet of Russ there that mentions this massive father of Krakens. There's a sea serpent in Norse mythology. My butchered pronunciation would be Jormungand, which encircles the earth. It's so long it goes all the way around Earth, and it could eat its own tail. So that's probably a little inspired by that, as a lot of the lore in relation to the Space Wolves. And on that note, friends, I'll wrap up today's video.